Amy, I mean, you've been playing GTA for, more than decades. I'm interested in what you think about the rollout and ultimately why these things take so long to produce.
Yeah, these games are incredibly difficult to produce. I would say that AAA games these days, well, which are high fidelity games made by studios, like Rockstar, like the Activision Blizzard studios, they typically do take over 5+ years. There's a lot of 3D modeling involved, and you can see from the trailer the cinematic graphics, very lifelike, people that they have in the game, the complexity of the open world game where players can really let their imagination run wild and sort of endless content. These things take a very long time and years in development, hundreds of game developers. And in the case of GTA 6, there's all sorts of speculation about how what the costs were to develop. GTA 5 was rumored at around 200 million, and possibly over 5 times that for GTA 6.
I want to go back to the numbers on GTA 5 because it was released in September of 2013, more than 10 years ago. So we're saying 190 million copies sold. In that time, $8.4 billion of revenue. By the way, in the last fiscal year, Take-Two did about $5.4 billion overall. So, it's important. How has the audience changed, Amy, from September of 2013 to now? How has the market changed?
Yeah, I would say that since 2013, you already see that by 2013. In the last 10 years of gaming, you've seen a lot of more diversity of the types of players to come into the ecosystem. So first there was the rise of mobile gaming, which actually brought in a lot of females, older players. Historically, gaming has been more male-dominated, younger audiences. That is still a core audience today. But you can see from, female protagonists and also from some of the more, again, like movie-like qualities of the game. GTA has always been about role playing, and they really want to embrace all types of different players, the different game experiences they want. Maybe some are more into driving, more into shooting, and others into, actually running a store, etc. And that's why, for example, in GTA 5, the role-playing mod was so popular in that game because it really allowed different types of gameplay and for people to also stream that gameplay on TikTok and YouTube and others places.
Big time. When I was talking about 2013, producer John Hyland piped into my ear and said, don't forget Red Dead Redemption 2, 2018, another Rockstar title. Caro was talking about how you've played GTA. Right, great game. What does this mean for you? I mean, when you saw the trailer and you saw the announcement, what was your genuine reaction to that?
I was pumped, just like most people. Yeah, I played a lot of GTA growing up. For me, it was actually Vice City, which GTA 6 is set back
big
in.
time.
And yeah, and so, this game kind of defined my gaming childhood along with a few other titles. And so just being able to see just such an incredible fidelity, I'm sure it's going to be way more immersive. And so I'm personally like, it's the most anticipated title of 2025, and for me as well.
Interweave, therefore, how people are now purchasing within games, how we have seen Web3 integrate itself, and many, to use analogies of crypto and Web3, basically pointed to gaming and to Fortnite and the like, Amy. What does this sort of a title do to the companies you're looking at and the economics of the companies that you're looking at?
It's a really good question. So at Menlo, we invest in early stage game studios and also gaming tools. And I would say that, these days, AAA games like GTA 6 do command sort of hundreds of millions of dollars of development cost. And so as a venture investor, a question that we have all the time is, how does a new studio compete against the budgets that these large studios have? And also, because they're launching the next game in a franchise that's already beloved by millions of players versus a young studio is really launching new IP. And so we think about that when we're investing in games. I think the bar is very high. And so startup studios really have to go after game concepts that have, and that are either on top of a new platform, like Roblox or that UEFN, or the AR VR, or they're creating a new genre or doing something very special in a new genre in order to break out in what is a very competitive landscape.
There is also a discussion to be had about the role of generative AI technology in the development, right? I wonder if games like GTA 6 will kind of be the last big titles where multi-year development is justified. Is that an area you're looking at, kind of generative AI as a way to speed up how quickly new games can come to market?
Absolutely. As a venture investor, I'm very excited about AI tooling, generative AI tooling that can lower the cost of content development, which is the most expensive part of game making. And hopefully that gives a leg up for some of these indie studios. But you have to consider that when these Gen AI tools become more mature in creating game assets or characters, they will be most likely adopted by both young studios and incumbent studios alike. And so I think that we will continue to see long multi-year game cycles for the years to come, but hopefully that does come down with the invention of these tools.
And just broaden out, we have sort of seen geographically interesting regulatory hurdles that, for example, Chinese game makers have been suffering or having to jump across, whichever way, whether you think it's positive or not, Amy. More broadly, these sorts of titles, will they be global in their making? And are the companies that you're backing and the studios that you're looking at investing in, do they need to have a global offering at this moment?
We are looking, I do think the most successful games today do appeal to global audiences. And when we think about global audiences, we think about gamer tastes. And so Western gamers oftentimes have different tastes in game style, how games are monetizing than necessarily Eastern players. And so studios need to think about different preferences and also for different demographics that are different by region. I think that's more important than necessarily each country alone, and also how what the willingness to pay is for players in different markets.